Isn't it refreshing when free really means free? Whether you're a Wager Talk customer, a Sports Memo customer, a fan of our videos, or even if you're not a customer at all, everyone can get this week's edition of Gold Sheet for free. Enjoy write-ups and stat logs on every college football game this week to see the new and improved Gold Sheet layout for this season. To download, log into Gold Sheet's website using username free@goldsheet.com and the password free. No coupon, phone number, or email address is required. It's that simple. Come see why Gold Sheet has been this country's premier football betting newsletter for over 6 decades.
Welcome on into Asian baseball today. I can't believe below me it says that it's the 1st of September already. Where has the time gone? Football season is here, but the KBO and Japanese baseball, the NPB, continues rolling on. And maybe even more money to be made now that everybody's paying attention to football. And that's where my guys, the experts, come in. With me, I got Tokyo Brandon and Adam Trigger. Always fun to be with you guys. A Thursday edition, so we'll be previewing some weekend action going for tomorrow. We got 2 game sets for Saturday and Sunday that we'll be breaking down. But Trig, I'll start with you, brother. What do you have up with football time being now? And, of course, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Dan. Yeah, no, it's football season. I've got 4 plays posted for week 1. I'll probably add a couple more. One of them goes tonight. It's a 4% best bet. You can get that on my page at Wager Talk. And I passed on MLB today, but I do have Korean baseball for tomorrow morning. It's a 4% play, and I'm going to give you that one at the end of the show. So stay with us, and you'll get my 4% KBO for free. Football is up on my page, and I've got plays loaded for tonight and Saturday, and I'll likely add others before the weekend. So it should be a pretty full week 1 card for me at Wager Talk.
And it's always nice to head into the weekend with a free client play coming in the best bet section at the end of the show. Tokyo Brandon, I know you have a play that's going tomorrow morning that you're pretty pumped up for. What's that all about? And of course, Tokyo, what's going on? How you doing?
What's up, guys? It's been a nice week so far. Japanese baseball rolling really, really well. Korean baseball just kind of slothing along, which is kind of different how it was at the beginning of the season. Korean baseball was red hot. Japanese was kind of picking up the slacks. But, either way, I'm still right around 60, 59, 58% win percentage in both leagues. So still doing all right there. I won my 4% best bet last night with the Hanshin Tigers. Probably going to be Dan's favorite Japanese baseball team by the end of the season. And I got a 5% play tonight in the KBO. Something I saw. Sometimes you just run through your plays and you're like, you look at the line and you're like, what? Something just doesn't make sense. So this is one of those. I was like, what? So you expect it to be here and it's way up here, and you gotta slam that stuff. Couple of plays I like in the KBO. I got a 3% play that I really like, and I'm going to give that away at the end of the show. It's going to be a Kia theme today.
Oh, a Kia theme. We got 2 client plays getting dropped. More the reason to stick around. And yes, I love my Hanshin Tigers. Also love the Oryx Buffaloes. We got home that dog with the best bet segment earlier this week on Monday. So let's keep those good vibes going, boys. And let's get into our standings update. Well, I guess the good vibes stop there, at least for me, as my SSG Landers have dropped 3 straight since we talked last. LG keeping it interesting with the 5 winning game streak. We'll be talking about them here in just a little bit. Kiwoom playing hot as well. And you got KT Kia looking to rebound. Lotte really kind of going in a bad way as well. And then the kind of best of the rest we have there down at the bottom, though. Samsung's been making people money, 4 straight wins for them. And, of course, Hanwha, they're just losing games. It's what they do best. So, Adam, I want to throw it your way because I mentioned at the top of the show, September already this year is flying past. And for some of these teams, it's just been road trip after road trip. You get a day here, a day there. If there's some rainouts, you worried at all about some fatigue setting in as we roll through the year here for some of these KBO teams?
Yeah, Dan, listen, I really think that overall fatigue is playing a huge part in some of the day-to-day results we're seeing in this league. I'm going to just set the table by looking at the past 2 years. 2020, the league started a month late, but it was also during a pandemic when there was so much other stuff going on that I actually think the players, especially over in Korea, where, I mean, it was like full-blown lockdowns. Like the games were probably like an escape for most of the players, where it was, they probably looked forward to the games more than anything else because of just the landscape of 2020. Last year, it was more back to normal, but you had a almost 6-week break in the middle of the season because there was about a month off for the Olympics, and there was probably a week and a half prior to the Olympics where it was so rainy and there was COVID that they basically canceled the final week and a half before the Olympic break and just tacked it on to the end of the season. So you had most of these guys had about 6 weeks off in the middle of the year, and then got to pretty much it was almost like two seasons. This year, you go back to the more traditional schedule. We're back to more traditional life. Fans are in the stadium. The league started on time. Remember, we're going to be done with the regular season by the 23rd of September, and then the tack-on games are going to start happening. So I just think, I really think that I'm seeing a ton of fatigue across the board, and it's making these games very unpredictable. Like, for example, Wante In had looked completely gassed, 3 straight starts. Last night, he comes out and throws arguably his best start of the season. And
I lost that one too.
Was the team. Yeah, so did I. Kia was the team that I needed yesterday, and Yuli Lee looked completely gassed. And you're seeing and now you're starting to see some of these teams like the Hanwha Eagles. They kind of don't care. Their season is over. There's a lot of, and then Dan, your SSG Landers are falling into the same trap that the NC Dinos of 2020 and the KT Wiz of 2021 fell into, where they built up such a big lead that they're getting to the end of the season, and it's almost like there's no urgency. And we saw it last year with KT almost blew a massive lead last year. They finally had to win a game on the final day of the regular season to win after leading all season. And man, it's almost like deja vu watching SSG right now, where they're squandering a huge lead, and they just look lifeless out on the field day to day. It's really sort of forcing me to look at the teams that are well coached and disciplined as the teams I kind of want to back going forward. So to leave this segment with actionable info, I like the KT Wiz, the LG Twins, and believe it or not, the Doosan Bears, who I kind of wrote off a month ago. They tend to be the most disciplined, the best, the most well-coached, the most disciplined. And those are kind of the teams I'm looking at. And I wouldn't even hesitate to throw Kiwoom into the mix, although they're a team that I want to fade for different reasons. But, I look at teams like Kia, Lotte, and NC, and I see 3 very undisciplined teams. Kia continues to play average ball, yet the other teams can't catch them because they have their own issues, and they can't seem to get it together. And then you've got Samsung, who's basically out of it, and Hanwha, who's way out of it. And you have to wonder if they're going to even, care much over this next 3 weeks. So I'll leave with this. I think there's going to be a lot of crazy results. However, if you're looking for consistency with teams to sort of just try to go and maybe back day in and day out to make a little money the next 3 weeks, I'd look at the LG Twins, KT Wiz, and believe it or not, the Doosan Bears tend to, they're very well coached, and the next 3 weeks might be a really good sort of stretch for this Doosan Bears team. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I think, a lot to digest there. And also anyone who's watching live, hop in the comments. You think that there is something to that, some teams that maybe you see some fatigue tracking in, or if you're watching on the replay, hop below. We always are reading and chiming in as well. Make sure you always hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss a show, too. We appreciate you tuning in. Brandon, there's always two heavy favorites when we get to the KBO show, one of which is we're probably going to hear you sing. The other is you probably brought a chart for the folks. Well, cash at least one of those heavy favorites because you do have a chart. You want to look at some runs by day of the week. It's a bit of updated numbers, ones that you brought our way before. Floor is yours, Brandon.
Yes, sir. I will save the singing for my best bet because I really like it. So what I'm going to do right now is throw the chart up and talk about today. I a long time ago I did a little cookie dough graph thing. So today I just said, forget it. I'm just doing numbers. So just a little update on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Friday here, we're a day ahead of the U.S. in Asia. So tonight's game is going to technically be a Friday game. So what we want to focus on for the next 3 days or so is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So keep in mind that in the KBO, an average game score of every game ever played this whole season is 9.1. You can see Friday a little bit over the average, and Saturday, boom, goes way over the average. So from today, the next day, and the next day after that, you can kind of count on Saturday Asia time, which is Friday in the U.S. Those games are going to be very high scoring. So also in Japan, we see the same trend. Friday 6.8. So in Japan, the average game score of every game ever played this whole season is 7.1. So you can see on Friday it's a little low, and then Saturday a little over the average, and then Sunday, boom, it goes up. So this is the difference between Japanese baseball and Korean is Sunday. Sunday is kind of an enigma because I would expect Sunday to shoot sky high. Everyone's tired. They're looking forward to the next day. Everyone has Monday off. I think I can explain this by the fact that the next day is a day off, so coaches don't really mind using up arms and gassing out their pitchers because they know they're going to get a day off the next day to re-rest and regroup. Maybe that's why Sunday scores are a little low on the KBO side. But yeah, so just screenshot that, take it with you, and use that for your capping because I do use these numbers. I definitely use these numbers. I'm shy to bet overs on a Tuesday, as you see there. Tuesdays scores are quite low compared to the average. And on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm a little wary to bet unders because as you see there, the scores tend to be over the average. So I do use this for my cap, and next week I'll bring some more nice goodies and information for you.
It's Tokyo. Brandon has a 5%er loaded right this moment that you can grab over at his page, wt.buzz/TB. Guys, let's get into our feature game for today. We got the LG Twins looking to make it 6 straight wins when they're facing off against KT. You got to lay money to back either of these teams, but the KT Wiz, the modest favorite total in this one, a decently high 9.5. Brandon, throwing it right back your way. How are you breaking down our feature game for today?
Yeah, I'll keep it kind of short and simple because I think Adam's featuring this game as well. So, yeah, I mean, right off the bat, when I look at this, I love So Hyung-jun for KT. One of the best Korean pitchers out there, but he's kind of fallen off a little cliff last 2 starts. I've backed him a couple times, and he's let me down a couple times recently, going against Kim Young-sik. Kim Young-sik, not a great pitcher. He's got a 1.44 whip, and he walks this season. He's only walking 1.9 guys, but over his career, he walks more than 3.9 per game. But, when I crunch the numbers and look through this, LG is a complete team. LG has a great bullpen. They've got great fielding, very good hitting. Right off, my first inclination is to say, I'd love to bet KT here, but I just can't do it. My numbers say don't do it. And my numbers actually put these two teams almost neck and neck, almost dead even. So in that case, as I've said on previous shows, I would be more inclined to take the underdog plus the runs. But I'm staying off this game. I picked this as a feature game, though, because these are two teams that are really clawing for a playoff position here. So it should be a great game. Unfortunately, I'm not betting it because it's just too neck and neck for me. I would love to back So Hyung-jun, the KT starter, but he's let me down a couple times, so I'm a little snake bitten. I'm staying off this. But if I were to play it, I would take LG first 5 plus a half run or LG plus 1.5 in the whole game.
So, Trig, I know that you're looking at this game as well that you're going to be talking about a little bit later, but do you just want to give a little surface breakdown before we get into your series preview on how you kind of see this game going tomorrow morning, shaking out between LG or KT? Any just surface kind of thoughts before we circle back at it at Best Bets?
Yeah, so what I'll start here. I'll just kind of recap yesterday. I mean, the KT Wiz, if you had KT plus 1.5 yesterday, which was a viable bet given the fact Casey Kelly was on the mound for LG. It was a reasonable play. It was something that I considered. I stayed off of. You should pour one out for yourself because that is a brutal loss. The KT Wiz led yesterday 1-0 going into the 9th inning. These are pretty much the two best bullpens in the league. And their closer has a sub-1 whip. He's converted 26 of 29 save opportunities. And he gave up 3 runs to lose 3-1, which is just something you don't really see KT do all that often. And really both of these teams. I talked about it in the open. These are two of really like the maybe three teams right now that I think are very well coached. I think they're disciplined. They're pretty much good all over the place. Great lineups. They play good defense. Bullpens are elite as far as this league is concerned. Starting pitching is solid. I'm going to tell you what I think sets these two teams apart when it comes to best bets, because I do have a best bet in this game. But, this is the feature game tomorrow. These are two teams that I want to look to bet on going forward. But there is a reason that I'm going to bet on one of these two teams tomorrow, and I'll table it for best bets, and we'll give it to you at the end of the show.
Strong tease out of Trig there. You can also head on over to his page, grab what he has loaded for tonight, wt.buzz/AT. Adam, Kia Tigers, they're wrapping up a 2-game set tomorrow. They play Samsung. And then we were just talking about this KT Wiz team, one that you're pretty bullish on. How do you see this Kia Tigers weekend going here as we get into our series previews?
Yeah, so Kia falls into the category of one of the teams that I also mentioned at the Open, that they're just a very mediocre team. And I'll come on here and say I had the wrong side yesterday, and it was one of my worst calls of the KBO season, taking Kia minus 140 against the Samsung Lions. And I went back, I looked at the game, looked at Kia, and I said, you know what? There was a stretch in June where Kia put like video game offensive numbers up. And I really think it skewed the sort of outlook on this team, because if you really dig in and look at their season as a whole, and then what they did in August, and really what they've done the past, I would say 6 or 7 weeks, this is a very average baseball team that gets priced as if they're still the team we saw in June. Their record coming into today could not be more average, Dan. It's 57-1. Okay, they're right on 500. And I'm looking at their schedule the rest of the way, and I would be shocked if this team plays better than 500 baseball the rest of the season. Because they go to next week. So this weekend, they go and play the KT Wiz. They play them at home, who is one of the teams I talked about at the Open. Next week, they have 6 road games at Lotte, at NC, and at Doosan, which is just, the schedule maker should get a big pat on the back, because that's about as good as it gets. Those are the 3 teams that are chasing them in the standings. That probably should have caught Kia at this point, to be perfectly honest. But those 3 teams can't seem to get out of their own way either. So it's really just 4 teams that are so mediocre and can't really put together a good performance day to day. That's given us kind of an interesting finish to the season. When at one point, I didn't think we would have one. I thought Kia would run away with the 5th spot, but they just haven't. But you look at the numbers, and the pitching is very average. The bullpen, even with the guys back that Kia has gotten back, is very mediocre. The starting pitching, you see Yuli Lee yesterday. It's really starting to fatigue. And, I wanted to kind of look at this because I just don't see how Kia is above 500 the rest of the way. Yet, they will probably be favored in most of these games, especially when they're at home. And they'll probably be favored in a lot of those games next week when they're on the road because for whatever reason, the books still have Kia pumped up when it went in relation to teams like Lotte, NC, Doosan, and not to mention, guys, Kia finishes the year with LG and NC. It doesn't really get much easier. And I think I misspoke. Next week they play Lotte, SSG, and Doosan all on the road. Mm-hmm. And SSG is going to probably start to feel the heat at some point and feel like they need to win a couple of these games. So I just look at the Kia schedule the rest of the way, and I think they're probably a good fade because they're probably going to be favored in a lot of these games. And I can't see them playing more than 500 ball the rest of the way. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're betting these games. I gave you a couple play-ons. Kia might be a play against. And I think Brandon's going to have a rebuttal there, so I want to see what he says.
Yeah, Brandon, before we get into some Japanese baseball, your thoughts on this Kia train moving forward. Is it a fade train, or are you looking at it a little bit different? And then we'll talk a little Hiroshima Carp and Yokohama Baystars. What do you think, Brandon?
Well, my best bet is going to be on Kia, the Kia game today, so I'm not going to give it away until the end. However, regarding in general, whether they're a fit, I didn't think Kia was a good team to begin with. They're actually one of those teams that they can hit, but their bullpen average, their starting rotation not good. We've said in the show many times that the import pitchers, the foreign pitchers you bring in, are supposed to be the pillar of your rotation. Who do they got? Sean Nolan. They're not a good team. I agree, and I don't think that they are going to be 500 from here on out either. But they do produce runs. They do produce runs, but they give a lot of runs too. So they're like the Boston Red Sox, basically.
So we'll get the full thoughts regarding Kia from Tokyo Brandon in just a few here. But let's talk about this Hiroshima Carp Yokohama DNA Baystars series. How do you see this one shaking out?
なんでもないようなことが幸せだったと思う. So a little Japanese. Hey, even my Japanese songs are from the 90s. You gotta love that. So anyone who knows Japanese music will know that song. So let's get on to my preview. That song was in my head this morning because it was one of the first karaoke songs that I sang when I came over here. So anyways. We're breaking down the Yokohama Baystars and the Hiroshima Carp. Not a lot of teams in the U.S. are named after mud-sucking fish, but in Japan, we've got the carp. So actually, carp is a symbolic fish for it's a holiday in Japan for Children's Day. So they have a holiday here called Kids Day, and they all hang these carp decorations. So that's where that comes from. But anyways, side note. I'll keep it sweet and short because I've been singing and rambling on. Basically, in Japanese baseball, the average game score is 7.1 for every game ever played, as I said before. And so if you look at the previews for the coming 3 days, the series for the coming 3 days, all of them are 6.9, 6.7, 6.7, 6.1, and there's one 9.1, and guess what that is? It's the Hiroshima Carp and Yokohama Baystars. So when these two teams get together, they average 9.1 runs. In the books, you're going to see a lot of sevens. You're going to see maybe even a 6 or something. I'm going to go over on this. And if you followed my series preview last week, I said, take the DNA Baystars. I think they're going to sweep this series. And what did they do? They swept the series. They went 3-0. So I think my advice will be pretty good if you follow it. If you see 6.5s, jump all over it. Drop a dime on it even. These are two bad bullpens. and two teams that can hit pretty well. DNA is just surging. They feel the playoff fever, and they haven't felt that for a long, long time. So I see a lot of runs in this series. If you see 6.5s, I would slam that. If you see team totals of 2.5, I would slam that as well. Today's game, unfortunately, is a game total of 7, and both team totals are 3.5. So I might bet the overs on those, but I would bet them with just a few shekels. I wouldn't go all in on it. Like I said, in the next coming 2 days or so, if you see 6.5s or 6s, slam it. If you see any team totals of 2.5, I would be all over that.
There you go, Tokyo. Brandon letting you know how to bet the following series between the Hiroshima Carp and Yokohama Baystars. And also, he makes a good point of why you just can't fast forward to the end and get the best bets, because if you pay attention during some of these series breakdowns, you got 3 winners there as opposed to just 1 winner at the end of the show. But luckily for you, it is best bet time. We've been teasing them long enough with some free client plays for the folks. So, Adam, I'm going to kick it off with you. Remind people what you have up this evening and what's your best bet for tonight.
Yeah, so I have my first college football play of week 1. Goes in about an hour. That's up on my page. I also have a 4% KBO play, and as promised, I'm going to give that to you here. We previewed it earlier. I'm on the KT Wiz minus 115. Listen, I have, very similar to Tokyo Brandon, I've got these teams rated pretty similar, except I give the nod to the KT Wiz. And the one area that I'll point to for the LG Twins that I think they maybe are just a little bit behind KT is starting pitching depth. And here, I am willing to take the shot with Hyunjin So. He hasn't burned me. And he's really, you look at the body of work, he's 12-3 with a 3.303 ERA. He's been one of the better domestic pitchers in the league. LG is going to go with Young-Sik Kim. He was outstanding last time out against Kia. But other than that, I mean, he can be hit or miss. He's got a 4.39 ERA, a 1.44 whip. He's made 17 starts this year, and he's only made 7 quality starts. And so for me, in a game that is relatively, I guess you would say, 2 pretty even teams. Might be the 2 best teams in this league. I've already sort of put KT at the top of my power rankings, and I'm thinking about moving LG in the second right now, based on the way they've been playing of late. I got to go with the KT Wiz minus 115 here. I referenced it earlier in the show, a heartbreaking loss yesterday in a game they should have won. I think they wake up a little bit, and I think they bounce back and get this one. KT Wiz minus 115. I'm going to be looking to back this team a lot over the last 3 weeks of the regular season, and I'm going to back them here for a best bet. KT Wiz minus 115 is my 4% best bet for Friday morning.
Free client play here. Lay it with the Wiz. It goes tomorrow morning, and that line is on the move, so definitely go and grab that now. Brandon, 5% are loaded for tonight that you are pumped up for. It goes tomorrow morning. You have the best record at Wager Talk during this span with your 5%ers, 71%. That ain't too bad right there. You can grab both of these guys' plays right now at their pages. But Brandon, you too are giving out a client play that you're excited for tonight. What do you got for the folks on Best Bet?
Yes, I am. I am Hans. He is Franz, and we are here to pump you up. Any of you who are probably over
SNL.
35 or 40 years old would know that. Yeah. So thanks, Joe. Yeah, Adam and I, we have a sour taste in our mouth from Kia after last night because we were both on him, and Liu Li just barfed on the mound. He was awful. Guy in the KBO with a 1.2 whip. You don't expect him to perform like that against a team like Samsung, who have 2 power hitters and then nothing in their lineup. So that was very disappointing. But hey, I'm back in Kia again today, but not on the side. Like I said earlier, it was kind of my preview to my best bet. Kia can smack the ball, and in the last 7 days, they're averaging 5.38 runs a game. And today, their team total in the book is 4.5. And, you look, over the whole season, they're averaging 4.8 runs a game. And then in the last 7 days, they're averaging over 5. They're playing a pitcher who has a 5.13 ERA, a 1.52 WHIP, and his FIP is 5.43. I mean, if Kia cannot get their average runs per game tonight, then we have some serious problems. I think the only thing that makes me a little wary about this play is the fact that they're at home, and Sean Nolan is on the mound against a far inferior pitcher, so they'll probably win the game. I'm not betting them, though, on the side because it was a little steep. I think it was minus 210 or something. I'm not sure, but the side's a little steep. And like Adam said, this is not a team that I'm happy to back, but I sure am happy to back their bats. So if I don't have to worry about the result of the game and I can just take their runs and watch them, launch moon rockets, that's what I'll do. And Choi Han-nul, he's an awful pitcher. I mean, even in his career, he's got 5 strikeouts per game and 4 walks per game. I mean, he barely can strike out more than he walks. I mean, he's terrible. This season, I think he's 13 strikeouts and 12 walks, something like that. I mean, Kia should be able to get their season average run total here. And 4.5 seems high. I don't care. It's the KBO. They're going to score like pinball machines. So I'm on Kia over 4.5 tonight.
Going over the team total, Kia Tigers best bet, and Adam Triggers on the KT Wiz. You can get those right now. Also head on over.
3% client play as well. So
3%. Brandon's dropping out there. He's got a 5%er going tonight. Triggs got some college baseball action. He's got a 4%er. He just gave you here. So retroactively use the money that you're going to win on the 4%er he gave out. Grab the college football play now. So always a fun time with you guys. Appreciate you. We will be back on Monday. Until then, make sure you make sure you subscribe. And for Adam Trigger, for Tokyo Brandon, for Robert doing a great job behind the scenes, I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll see you Monday on Asian Baseball Today.
Isn't it refreshing when free really means free? Whether you're a Wager Talk customer, a Sports Memo customer, a fan of our videos, or even if you're not a customer at all, everyone can get this week's edition of Gold Sheet for free. Enjoy write-ups and stat logs on every college football game this week to see the new and improved Gold Sheet layout for this season. To download, log into Gold Sheet's website using username free@goldsheet.com and the password free. No coupon, phone number, or email address is required. It's that simple. Come see why Gold Sheet has been this country's premier football betting newsletter for over 6 decades.